So welcome to today's meetup. It's really great to have Darja here because even me, I haven't seen you forever. And I love the topic, so I'm really happy you had some time for us to share your experience. I will give a short intro about women in digital, and then it's the intro about you and like the interesting stuff, the boring is coming. Women in Digital is a community of women working in digital, and our monthly meetings are a chance for like-minded driven women to come together, to learn from each other, to share and discuss the latest digital trends. And the local meetups are currently organized in Geneva, Lausanne, Basel, Zurich, Ticino, and St. Gallen. And we from the St. Gallen chapter are rather a small community, like people know each other. And that's also a big chance for people who would just like to present their topic for the first time, like just are looking for a safe space. And I'm always happy to give that space to whoever likes to have it. So then just ping me if you're interested. And I'm happy to hand over to my co-organizer, Sarah, to introduce Darja.
Okay, so let me introduce Darja. Thank you so much. So Darja and I work together, by the way. So we had several projects together. So who is Darja, first of all? Darja is a senior service and user experience designer at Leap. Okay, for those that do not know her. She's a very active person. I mean, I think since we met the first time, like she's always doing something. So, for example, she always does so much sport, and I have the feeling, okay, my level is so low, then maybe it's me, then I have the feeling then you're like almost an Olympic person. But again, she does a lot of sport. She have a lot of activity in parallels. For example, she was one of the person was part of creating the creative morning. So organizing, sorry, the creative morning, I can do it. And what can I say more about Darja? So we work together, I would like to point out that she's great. I mean, when you work with her, she's really somebody focused. She always asks the right questions. It's really a pleasure to work with her till the moment that she gets distracted. That happened because she has seen a dog in some place. So when she sees a dog, you don't see any more Darja for almost 10 minutes because it's the cuddling dog's time. But then she goes back to being focused and excellent in her job. So that is what I know about Darja. For sure, she can present herself even better and give some more explanation about herself. And then the stage is yours.
Thank you for this kind of introduction, very kind of you, and welcome everyone to this presentation. Now I'm going to try to share my screen, and I'm crossing fingers that things are going to work out, that everything's going to be shared as planned. So let's see how this goes. So there's lots of things on the plate at this moment. So let's see how this goes. Everyone is seeing my screen? Yeah? All right. All right. So this was not the original title. I don't know who invented it, but I liked it, so I kept it. So online workshop, piece of cake. But let's see if it's a piece of cake. For me, it's a fairly new environment. So you're going to see that, yeah, I've learned everything, let's say, everything what I'm going to share with you today, I've learned in the past year or so. So once again, good evening, and thank you for being here. I hope you're going to enjoy this moment with me, telling you little stories. And of course, thank you also to Women in Digital to inviting me. It's been a while. I've done already a little talk a couple of years ago, and some of you I saw in the audience today, you are participating as well. So welcome here. So I would just like to ask first, in fact, who actually are you? Because I'm sure that you're coming from all sorts of backgrounds and places. So I think that you have a possibility to raise a hand in the Zoom. So you can just raise a hand if a topic somehow corresponds to your environment where you're coming from. So how many of you are coming from the technology environment and you are, let's say, curious about what's happening on the workshop? So how many of you are? So many.
So we have 5 people raising the hand.
Lovely. Who's coming from the design? Who's coming from the design? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. More?
Sorry about that. Not so many.
Oh no. All right. No worries. Glad that lots of other profiles are here. And marketing? I guess there are going to be some more. Right?
I will raise the hand too.
Good. Business developers.
Okay. You have like 2, 3. Come.
And how many of you are just simply curious?
Number is growing on that one. Oh my God, they're growing crazily. Okay, now we arrived to 10.
Super. I'm glad about that. I think that this is the most important point of departure, is that you're curious about a certain subject. I was extremely intrigued how this topic about online workshop is going to evolve, because for me, at one point, things became a bit difficult. But let me tell you a bit about myself so you can see it. Sarah already said some little details. So I'm a designer at Leap. I do service design and user experience, and I work with wonderful people. I have wonderful clients. I love my job. I just love it. Can't say more about that. I have a thing for dogs and cats and animals in general. And I think I counted yesterday how many pictures I have on my phone. And that's only on my phone. There are some other databases. And on my phone, there are about 2,000 pictures of cats and dogs. I have a thing for nature, for mountains, for being outside. So yeah, sports outside. This is something that speaks to me, Sarah, that's for sure. I love moving because I do sit a lot in front of the computer, so that's my getaway. Then I also have a thing for books. I give them away quite often. I love this street libraries in the phone booth. So I give away my books from time to time to make space. But at the moment, I have around 350 or so books on my shelves. And I also like coffee. I tend to limit my coffee consumption to 2 coffees a day, because I could just drink it as water, but thanks to all the good, places that we have in Lausanne and good coffee makers, let's say. So coffee, yay, even though that I like tea as well, good tea and little ceremonies around it. And the last thing, something that grounds me. So we talked about the focus. I do distract myself quite often. And I think the yoga, when I do the yoga, it's been a couple of years now. I'm not a pro or anything, but it's my little grounding space. As you can see that my favorite dog, Shadow, is just next to me. If you see it, he's participating pretty well. But that's our office dog. It's a dog from a colleague. I love him. So, but a little disclaimer. So like I said, I'm not an online workshop specialist. I'm absolutely new at it, in online workshopping. So I'm here to share my experience, and let's see how humid it's gonna be. And I'm also not a theorist, so I'm not gonna share the theory about the workshops. It's really gonna be, let's say, it's a resume of everything what I noted down over the past, let's say, a year or so. And I'm also not a consultant. So I'm a designer who saw her work turn upside down due to COVID and had to figure things out. There was a whole team, of course, with me and all the other designers as well, saying like, how are we going to do our work now? Because our work is working with people, getting answers, asking questions, digging deeper. And yeah, somehow, if I hear myself a couple of years ago, I was saying like, never ever in my life I'm going to do a workshop with people online. It's not possible. It's not working. There's no space. Well, I proved myself wrong. This thing is kind of really possible, and it's actually pretty effective when you do it the right way, or sort of the right way, let's say. That's why this talk won't be about how to use online tools. I think that this is something that you can discover on your own. I'm not going to tell you about the exercises or methods to use in workshops. So all the user experience or scientific methods that you might want to use, I'm not going to go into the details on this one. And I'm not going to give you a shopping links for props, so lights, cameras and stuff. So we're not going to talk about that. But we're going to talk rather about little trials and errors that I could confront and how I could find the ways around. Maybe a list of essentials to think of when designing an online workshop, what could be worth thinking of. And some ideas on facilitation, because the online facilitation is definitely different. It's absolutely not the same as when you are in the space with people, when they're next to you, when you can go close and see what they're doing. And of course, I went a bit of bananas on animated GIFs in this presentation. So I hope you're not going to be fed up at the end with those. But there's some cool ones. There are some rather cool ones, yeah, that I like. But yeah, finally, there are lots of them. And if you have some questions, I think there, Sarah, I think you can do, I don't know, say that somebody raised the hand, because I don't.
Yes, so, okay, that's super polite to raise the hand, but really not required. And I normally in the meetup, then I curse, I never do it because, you know, then who cares? You have two options. So, or you write directly in the chat and we will like pick up your question, or you write in the Q&A and we will pick up your question. Just do it in the way that you feel the most comfortable.
Yes, awesome. This is what I like. So ask whenever you want, whenever something pops up saying like, oh, this is weird, or this is super interesting, but I would like to have more details. Just write it down and we're going to try to answer it afterwards during this this presentation, or afterwards, even offline. Maybe we can even send emails or call afterwards. But let me just start with the agenda. So we have 8 points that we need to go through. All that to prepare a workshop online. So let's see how this goes. I think I said that I'm going to do 20 minutes, but I tend to talk a lot. So let's see how this goes. And I think that Sarah, she's going to tell me like, stop, you need to hurry up. Often happens to me. So let's dive in. So this is my online workshop cookbook, work in progress as always. And as I said before, about me in January 2020, I've got 99 problems, but workshops were really not mine, one of those. And suddenly, yeah, there was what it was. First things first, we had to, let's say, step back with the whole team. And we said, like, what is happening now? What can we do better? How can we adapt? We need to adapt. We cannot just linger on our old perception of we cannot do stuff online. We had to do it because we had to solve problems, or we had to find solutions, right? So we started with simple thing, obvious one, I guess. It's asking a simple question to our clients. So what is the problem? So it goes somehow in conventional way. So the brief was important, but we wanted to hear more. So we wanted to make sure that the brief, the goals, the wishes, the outcomes are much more precise, because we knew that if we are to organize things online, we don't have the leverage to adapt as much as we can do on the online on-site workshops. So this is where we were stressing, all right, we have to be super clear about what kind of problems we're actually solving. And so we were starting to do much more pre-work to prepare let's say, the terrain that we need to discover. And also, what I was asking about is, how am I gonna get the answers to my questions? Because it's not that everything is going online and everything is an online workshop, or not everything is a group work, right? So you need to be honest with yourself. What actually makes sense to put online and organize and put the energy to prepare something online for an online workshop. So this is where you do a certain triage. What are you actually going to do to get the answers to your questions? So all that is somehow, let's say, teamwork with client, you exchange and you set things straight. And one thing, I don't know how many of you have you done it with in your own environment, the pre-mortems. So sometimes it can be a bit like, why the hell do you want to start things with thinking negative stuff? And in fact, the pre-mortem just gives you, let's say, the whole the range of problems that you could confront. And sometimes even the most craziest problems that you say, like, no, this is never going to happen, they do happen. So once you figure this out, or when you list those things down, at least for the first pre-mortem, because then you can add some more, you can plan your way outs and how you're gonna, if you find yourself in a certain weird situation, how you're gonna react so that you don't panic. So at least you prepare yourself. So you get some let's say, a security blanket with you. And so this would be for the starting point. And then once the starting point is done, well, in all the user-centric designs, and for the workshops is not different, you have to know the people that you're going to work with. This is not talking about the clients, so the ones that you are working with, but the people who are going to be the participants. So whether they are young or they're old, or they're kids, or they're tall or big, or even if they're animals, you could actually design also for animals if you, I would like to do that. So let me know, there's some project about that. So just know your people, and how you know about the people that you're going to work with. So we always ask for the names and the list of people who are going to participate. That's super, super important. And what we do is something that maybe some people are going to say, like, what? You're going to Google people? You're going to spy? You're going to check what they do? Well, to some extent, you just would like to know who they are. What do they do? What, maybe there are some, I don't know, maybe you have some crazy, I don't know, inventor in the team that is going to be participating at your workshop, especially if they're coming from the client, from the recruitment session for the workshop, if they're not internal people. But what I want to say is that it's good to know a little bit of background of people who are going to participate in the workshop, so that you can anticipate who are going to be maybe in the groups, who might need some more space, some more help, who might need a bit of, you know, all right, you've talked enough and you have to stop them. So just so that you know what is the environment that you're going to have to face and the people that you're going to work with. And the next thing and the last thing, and this is something that I learned it the hard way, is, are participants actually tech savvy or not? So of course, yeah, online workshops, everybody have to, I don't know, you by default, you're going to use the tools, and by default, you think that if you know to use how to use the tool, everybody else is using the tools as well. But no, not at all. Even the ones that you say, like, of course, they know it. They might not know it. So just see how you adapt to that. And so if there's, I don't know, maybe one person who might have trouble, maybe you're going to have to call them upfront a day before and maybe do a 30-minute onboarding session to make them comfortable about using whatever you're proposing. So that would be for the knowing your people. And then getting ready. So for getting ready, it's like a warm-up. Let's say, all right, now I have, let's say, the majority of answers. I know what problems I'm going to solve. I know what people are going to be around me and how we're going to navigate that. And one of the northern stars, let's say, that I try to keep in mind is, how can I get just most of the out of people I'll be working with in the time that I have at hand? Because let's say demanding people to stay with me for 4 hours, it's a lot. It's a lot in the, let's say, in the life of a person. It's a lot for the person who works and needs to dedicate this time for me. So it needs to be the time that is valuable for them as much as it's valuable for me. So this is where I think I spend some really quality tinkering. What am I going to do? And this is where the methods come in, right? So this is where unfortunately, I cannot go more into the details, but it's a whole spectrum, and really it's a huge domain that we could talk about for hours and hours if we need to. But you need to pick the cards, your cards that you're going to play, and how you're going to organize your workshops for the facilitation. So you pick up your icebreakers, you pick up your brainstorming methods, the ideation methods. If you're doing the retros, you're going to do it a different way. If you're doing the mappings, you're going to do it different ways. I know, I'm sorry, I guess that I'm saying some weird words. So if you wish, if you need me to, I'm going to explain some stuff afterwards in the questions, because it's some jargons happening here. But you need to be sure that what you're going to choose, it's going to give you the answers. And so I would say that there's not one workshop that exists that it's one size fits all, so that you just repeat it every time. We design custom workshops because you have to. It's not one size fits all. It's impossible. There's always a difference between different problems and the audience that you have, that you work with. And then it comes to this.
Darja, there
yes.
is one question. Are the cards different, or they're ordering from when the workshop is in person versus online?
I wouldn't say that there are different cards on the on-site and online. No, actually, it's not. It's fairly the same, because the math. I mean, let's say that the exercises are really similar. Maybe they are designed differently, or we facilitate them slightly differently, but in the core, they're the same. So if I say, I do apologize if the word doesn't speak to you, but user journeys, we're going to do them slightly differently. The way how we're going to facilitate them online, it's going to be slightly different than the ones that we do on site. So the exercise is the same, is the facilitation that changes. And it's not just about the medium, but it's often also about the participation. On the online workshop, people are participating much more, let's say in this particular exercise than on-site. So the cards are fairly the same, I would say. I hope this answers. All right. So then schedule the process. I'm going to be honest, I changed the schedule on my workshops at minimum 5 times during the planification and till the moment I go into the workshop. And then I change it again on site. On the way when I'm in the workshop. So the schedule is going to vary, and it's going to go from 1 hour to 2 hours to 1 day to 1 week. It depends what you have at hand as a time. So every single minute counts, that's for sure. The time flies. And you as facilitator, sometimes you lose yourself in the time as well. And what I really, really recommend is plan the time buffers. So I prefer to have more time buffers and more, let's say, larger breaks so that I can use them if an exercise needs more time, so that I can have some, let's say, some buffer where I can squeeze inside the time that was not going as I planned. And so that the whole thing works kind of in the way how I anticipated. What I often do now, and I don't do that in the on-site workshop, is I send some homework. So prior to start the workshop, I send some questions and some homework upfront to people who are going to participate. So usually it's related to the problems that we're going to address in the workshop or the exercises that we're going to do. And I really stress, let's say, that they send me back some answers, some opinions, some feedback, something, so that I have just a little bit of idea, or at least to feel the temperatures. Where are we going? So this saves me some time. And also what is pretty cool is that it prepares people what are they going to actually do during the workshop. Because the thing is that when they're in front of their screen, you have to know that they're extremely, they might be distracted. They're in their own space. They have their phones next to them. They might have kids. Maybe somebody's ringing the door. So the focus is it's lesser than the focus that they have when you have them here with you directly, like, face to face. So this homework just gives them some, let's say, some heads-on to prepare and what are they going to work on. So that's pretty good thing, in my opinion. This was working pretty well for us, for me. And then one thing is when you're in your rush of preparing and scheduling and, you try to do your best, think about also your resources and the energy and your time that you are investing in this whole thing. Because it can become quite overwhelming because it's so untangible compared to the on-site workshops, that you need to be kind to yourself and just sometimes take some break, take some step back and look at it. All right, am I doing it in the sustainable way so that I don't lose my energy and that I stay energetic till the end? All right, and now we're entering actually about designing your workshop, right? So this is the core. So you have your problem, you have your people, you're planning it, you have your schedule done. So now the tools. First thing first, the tools. I'm not going to tell you which tool is the best tool to use it. You have so many of them, and I would say that 90% of them are super good. You can use Miro, you can use Figma, you have used FigJam, this brand new Mural, you can go, even Google Slides could be something that is good. But once you pick it up, considering who's going to use them as well, learn how to use them. So you need to know what to click, how to explain it and so on, so that you somehow find your way around the tool. So yeah, pick up your tool and learn how to use it. And then about designing your boards. depending if you are designing your boards, or if somebody else is designing your boards. But what is important, at least to some extent, to make it visually consistent and pleasant, so that there's space there, that the typography is nice. I know that this is very personal, but see what you can do. There's lots of inspiration online. You can find communities that they're developing really quality workshops. And so you can find some inspiration there. You just need to dig a little bit. Then you can also, when I was talking about the homework, you can populate your boards up front. So the content that you already have, that people already send you, you can already put on the boards, and you can save some time. And also what you can do is you can already have a really good introduction into the workshop through this content that you already have at hand. And the last thing, I don't know for all the tools, but a couple of them that I've used. Once I forgot to lock the boards, so when I said that to lock the board is to prevent people to move the boards around the space. I don't want to tell you what kind of catastrophe happened, but it was really dramatic. So don't forget to lock your working boards. So this is really super important. I know it seems obvious, but yeah, I learned it the hard way. So lock your boards. And even now I forget to lock some boards. As in all the on-site workshops, I set the tone. I tell people what I expect from them and what kind of vocabulary let's say vocabulary, I would like them to use. So there's one thing maybe that I point out, that I forbid them to say no but. So this is something that I say, like, if somebody tells no but, for example, in the ideation, there's going to be penalty, something almost like that. I really encourage them to build upon each other's ideas and to not block other people's out. And rather than saying no but, use yes and, so that you open the discussion. So nothing is forbidden in this workshop, but no but, yeah, you're going to talk to me if you use it. Icebreakers. There's lots of discussions about icebreakers, whether we have time, not time, and so on. But what icebreakers taught me in the online workshops, since people are not actually having the moment together when they arrived, you know, for the coffee, for the little things to eat and so on. Well, you have to create at least some time to do that. So whether it's an icebreaker, which could reduce the shyness of participants if they don't know each other, they would build trust also among the participants, that they know each other if they're coming from the same company or the same team, to say like, all right, let's see what we can do together. It's rare that we work together, but let's see how can we handle that today. And the icebreaker somehow goes hand in hand with instructions and your narration of the workshop. So one thing is that, yeah, you need to make sure that participants know how to use the tool. And this is also something that I use for my icebreakers. Let's say I prepare little exercises to say like, all right, let's just see if everyone can copy paste a post-it or write a note. Can they move around up and down and so on, write some little stuff. So in fact, this first exercise, discovering the tool, setting up the tool, seeing if everyone is comfortable, is I use it as an icebreaker. And often it's like people, they write down some funny stuff and so on. So it's kind of pretty efficient, let's say. I would also say that maybe in the on-site workshops, I don't write down instructions. I'm there, I repeat them, I clarify them, but on the online workshop, I write them down and I make them visible, and they're always there if there's a doubt, so people can actually look at them and read them again. So yeah, workshops, instructions, write them down, make them clear. And the last thing, don't talk too much, give them space. I tend to talk too much, so I'm trying to always like, Darja, you said enough. All right, let them work. And then set the rhythm, right? You cannot hold people for 4 hours in front of the screen. There needs to be the rhythm. You need to set the groove. I don't know, something that it moves. Whether it's breakup rooms, whether it's off-screen work, you can actually ask people to disconnect from the online screen. Online screen, from the screen, and they do some work really disconnected in their own space and come back. You can even use music if you want to. On the on-site, sometimes we use music, which is pretty pleasant. So you have to plan the coffee breaks. And I think that, let's say, the focus time for the work online, there's a span of 45 minutes to 1 hour, and then you need to do something else or need to break it. But then you can also see how people are actually, if they feel tired. Sometimes I just take the liberty to say, all right, how do you feel, everyone? If it's an afternoon, if it's after lunch, the concentration might be low, and I take the liberty to change my schedule. And I just say, all right, we're gonna do some stretch, whatever, coffee, something, and come back in 10 minutes. So that's a good one. But set the rhythm to your workshop, make it dynamic. Don't do it like for 5 hours. This is not gonna work. This is not online learning. Not that the online learning is so bad, but sometimes it is. And then, oh my God, have an assistant. It's super, super hard to be one-man band in an online workshop. It's really, really super hard because you need to explain things. You need to see if everyone is okay. And then you need to write things down. And if there's something technical that goes wrong, seriously, it's just, you're all over the place and you're going to lose people. So let's say that you as a facilitator, you're there to hold the energy of the workshop, and the assistant, or let's say your buddy, does everything else around it. So everything with concerns like opening a new board, placing or grouping the post-its or whatever you do, but they have a specific roles, and they're so valuable. And so see if you can have an assistant, just see if there's, I don't know, a buddy who can help you out, but just see, it's really, really hard to do everything on your own. And then in terms of the pre-mortem workshops that I was telling you about, is that see if you can have a plan B for like really critical situations, because things, they can go south, of course, and they will. I assure you, it's rare that the workshop happens from A to Z as it was planned, but that's okay. It's normal. It's natural that it does. Like, it's just, if you are slightly ready, it's gonna be fine. Just don't hide like this little kitten that goes in the hole, right? What about your space? So for the online workshop, they always, let's say, at the beginning, we were not paying attention to that. But you need to be somehow, you need to inspire yourself by the influencers that you see on Instagram or on other social medias. So get your light in the correct way. Get your microphone working, get your camera that it's a quality camera. It can be a laptop camera, they're fairly good. Get your screen number 1 and get your screen number 2 if possible. I would say that 2 screens are really welcoming. So you can have your people on one screen, the faces of people, and then whatever you're teaching or facilitating on the other screen. So 2 screens, maybe it's really mandatory, but if there's 1 screen, you're just gonna have to figure it out how to organize your screens. And the internet connection. The internet connection, if it's not good and if your voice is not clear, it can be really, really tiring for people who try to do their best and they cannot hear you or they cannot understand the instructions. So make sure that internet is working, so at least your voice is clear and loud. So light, microphone, camera, screens, and your internet connections. So be sure that those things are fine. All the rest, I don't know, the seats, table, whatever. If you're outside, fine with me. But those things, they need to be really shining. And then the dry runs. I wonder if you were ever in the position to do the dry run for your presentations, if you've done some, but this is the hard reality check. And this is the place where I'm going to say, and we say that to the designers, that don't fall in love with your work. So don't fall in love with what you've done, because you've done a lot, right? And sometimes we try to keep it like, I love it, it's so good. But no, when you invite, I'm going to say that you need to invite your buddies or a client and tell them, like, now you're going to be my audience, my participants of this workshop. And each of you, you're going to have a certain role, and you just run your workshop through and ask them to break stuff, to just be, I don't know, ask them to be annoying, ask them to ask weird questions, just to create some like really stressing moments for you to see how you can figure things out. I know that dry runs are kind of a luxury because often we don't have time, but it really gives us the space to see if the workshop is working or not, and do you need to iterate and adapt. So that's going to be maybe a crucial moment. If you cannot, let's say, dry run it with your buddies, see if you can present your workshop or your idea, whether it's, let's say, in this theme, so communicate with your client excessively. Like when I say excessively, it's really tell them for each and every decision that you've taken to prepare your workshop, why are you doing and what is going to be the outcome. So maybe just the presentation of your workshop and explaining it, what you're going to get on each step, it's already going to give you some, like, let's say, natural feedbacks in saying, I need to adapt this part. I need to shorten this because this part needs more time. And then if you have some energy left, and I'm going to go back to think about your resources, energy, and time, try to practice. But if you are like tired already and you need some space, just take some time off and I don't know, break it, whatever, go out, breathe for a couple of days. But otherwise, practice is always good in everything, right, Sarah, like in sports. And then, woohoo, action. It's the day D, and we have the workshop going, and there, I don't know, maybe 15 clients or participants waiting, and you're there like, is it gonna be okay? You're ready, you know them, you have your slides, everything is work, you've set up. And I think that being there 1 hour up front, it's good. Maybe 30 minutes is good as well, but I wouldn't play with less than 15 minutes up front of being there, setting up and checking. So see if you can get 15 minutes prior to the official hour of the workshop and set things up, just in case something is not working. Technology, seriously, sometimes you're there like, Murphy, why are you here? So yeah. And yeah, energy, right? So you're online, there's a screen in front of you, there are people in their own spaces, you're not with them. And so your energy really needs to be times 10 as the energy it is on the on-site workshop. So you need to be on steroids somehow. You need to find this freaking energy somewhere. I don't know, whatever magic you have to use, try to use it. I know that it's not easy, but see how you can find it, because you really need to be present and there and clear and motivating. And what I say, it's in this sense, is to give people confidence with that. So your energy, you need to reassure them that they're capable to give some answers to, with their opinion, bringing something to the table that is valuable. So I borrow this phrase from Creative Mornings, which says, everyone is creative. So it is true. I mean, so many times in the ideation workshop that I heard like, why did you ask me to participate? I have no idea what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. Often it's really those people who bring most at the table. They might be most critical, or they're very much like they're not the same as all the others. So they're super valuable. But I try to give, and let's say that give people the confidence that they need, that they can actually bring value to a certain question and the problem that we're solving. And so since people are there a bit like they can hide behind the screen, and often they shut down their cameras. I know that screen time is very tiring, and it's been tiring for the last year. But for the workshops, unfortunately, it's really hard, but I ask them to turn on the camera. It's not to police them or whatever, but really this connection with the face, I need to have it somehow. And I call them by name. If I ask a question, I decide who's gonna answer first. And sometimes I adapt that, who am I calling the first one? It's whether I decide if, I don't know, there's a hierarchy, or if there's a shy person that needs to be taken out of the shadows. So yeah, it's the decision, but I call them by names and ask them. So I don't know, Charlotte, what do you think about that? So how would you solve that? Can you present your things that you've prepared? And I want to reassure them, participants, that their individual voices count, and they are going to be heard. So we note everything down. And there, I even prepare a little place that I call Parkplatz. I don't know if everyone is familiar with the name. So it's like a parking place. So even if some thoughts or ideas are not related to the problems, but they might be interesting, I just say like, just put it out and put it to the Parkplatz. So there is a parking spot for those things that maybe are not completely related, but just keep them safe. We want to have them. And then I'm going to say, follow the schedule, but no, you're going to have to, let's say, you're going to have to adapt the schedule, because it's just take the liberty to change it when you feel how the group is working. So this is really the one that you say like, all right, so we need to improvise. So there you're going to improvise, and it's a good thing to do. And finally, at the end, where, I don't know, whatever, if it's 1 hour, 2 hours a week, at the end you say like, so can you give me a little feedback? So I always like to ask at the end of the workshop, I take 5 minutes and ask like, can you just give me the feedback? What was your experience like today? Tell me everything. Just all the feedback is good, negative or positive. We always try to improve. And so people are really honest and with good intentions. So they're not going to be evil with you to put you down or whatever, but the honest feedback is going to make you better in the next time. And then the aftermath, right? I always talk with the client what worked well. We go through the feedbacks and we check what we can do better. And then we go and check the next step and follow through and see how we can deal with it. And the last thing, what I'm going to say, it's, you've got this. Seriously, it's really fairly new, especially like that 100% online. It's really new. And I'm always like insecure how this is going to work out. But finally, I think that with everything that you put in place, how you secure things, how you think it through, you've got this. Really, you just have to trust yourself. And I think that Beyonce here is like a perfect setup of like, oh, I'm just gonna rock it. And that's it. And so some takeaways, if there are some, there are 3 of them that I would like to mention. Oh, this slide is really not nicely designed, but it was the last one that I created today at 5. I admit it was not, the slides were not finished a week ago. But use the human-centered approach to design your workshops. So problems that you, with whom are you working, who are the people, and the problems that you need to solve, and all the rest will follow because you're going to adapt yourself to that. Make sure instructions are crystal clear. When I say crystal clear, they really needs to be clear. no doubt what you want from people and embrace the uncertainty. This is something that it's really hard, but there are going to be surprises and you just need to be like, all right, how are we going to deal with it? And now all right, it's been a year, almost a half, right, that we are in this situation of where we cannot really work close together in the same space. And let's see how this is going to change, if it's going to change. And I'm really, really, let's say, positive about how the future is going to be. And I'm just asking you whether the future is going to be hybrid or we're just going to go back to normal. And now it's 7:21. And I think it's time for some questions, opinions, feedback, whatever, just let me know. Thank you for the attention.
Thank you so much for the presentation. And yes, it's time for the question. Could you switch off the presentation?
Yes, I'm going to
start
sharing. 1 second. So here we go.
Thank you so much, Darja.
Yay!
There's like the first question was, could you please explain the word retro?
Sorry, which word?
Retro. Let's go into the agile slang. Retro.
Retro. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So the retrospectives, retro. Yeah, sorry. You see, this is the thing as well. It's vocabulary that you use, right? Don't think about that everyone understands what you're saying. So retro is actually the word for retrospective. So it's a space that you create where you meet with people and you think about what things were okay and what things need to be improved. And it's a space where you can be, I'm going to use the word that can be a bit violent, but brutally honest. So it's a space where you can be vulnerable. You can say this thing really hurt me, or this thing made my life horrible, or whatever. And on the other side, you can say thank you for things that happened well. So those retros are also the workshops that we organize often. It's to set things in place and how can we deblock some things that can be quite heavy blockers for next steps in the project. So retros are retrospectives and the space where everyone can say what they need to say. It's not, I think now it's getting better, but a couple of years ago, it was not I haven't seen it often practiced in a corporate world, but now it's getting better. So retrospectives, yay.
The next question was, can you say more about screen 1 and 2?
Oh, yes. So what I do usually is that I use my laptop that I'm talking to right now. I'm not very good with the camera looking because I was supposed to be looking at the green light that's flashing here. But in fact, I'm looking at the screen. But the thing is that you have to imitate somehow the eye contact. So you have to focus on the camera, and the people who are going to see you, they see when you're looking into the camera. So on my laptop, I put usually the Zoom or some other tools that we use for online connection, and then on the screen next to me, I use, for example, the boards, the working boards, the workshop boards. So I explain as well to people who are in the workshop that I'm going to probably look on the other side, that it's not that I'm not seeing them anymore. It's just that here I have, so I explain a bit my environment. So yeah, I use one screen to see people, to have all the faces and see who turned it off the camera and not, and the big screen is for the boards.
Thank you for sharing that. And it really makes a big difference, because there are people who are just staring away from us for 3 hours and they don't see it makes a difference at all.
Yeah, but that was, in fact, it was what I just shared with you was, it comes from the discussion from a friend, Gilles. we were talking, he's also facilitator and designer, and he told me like, you need to focus on that green light there. It's super important. I'm not good at it at all, but working on it.
There are more and more questions coming. The next one is, what are some of the online surprises? Are they technical or others?
Sometimes it's technical. So it's just that the tool, I don't know, for whatever reason, bugs. It can be voting system, for example, when you need to vote. This was, sometimes it's really, really tricky when you're there, like, you have people like, I cannot use it. I don't see it. What is going on? Da, 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 and so on. So you're like, oh, troubleshooting. So this is the time where the assistant is really, really cool. And you need to have a backup for that, right? Then what could also, oh yeah, setting up the tool when things are not working, mouse, I don't know, trackpad, whatever. So technical things are tricky. And then what is tricky as well is people who say like, I don't understand, I don't agree, I think we should rather work on that. And so they disrupt, in fact, your flow of workshop and your focus, your, let's say, the theme of the workshop. And they just say like, I don't think we should talk about that. I think that we should rather talk about this. And this happened to me a couple of times. And you need to know how to talk about that. And often what I do is that the client is shadowing in the workshop. They're usually, you know, the project, let's say product owner or project manager from the client side is in the workshop. And I often say, I don't know, Frank, can you please explain maybe the background better so people can understand why are we addressing this and this problem? So that people, usually those kind of, let's say, confrontation, they come because people, they don't understand. So I don't know, taking 5 minutes in your schedule to explain again and to set things straight and to make space for questions can just, yeah, facilitate then for the workshop for you. But technical and then let's say personality problem. I don't know how would I say it, but yeah, somebody that says like, I'm not okay with it.
Thank you. The next question is, how do you manage when there are multiple pages of participants to see everyone all on the same page?
On the same page?
Like if you have so many participants that you can't see them all on one. What are you?
The thing is that you adapt if you have so many, I had it once that was really huge. But we were then multiple facilitators. The thing is that you have a certain buffer that you can do, you know, you cannot facilitate 60 people at the same time. If there are 60 people, you have to be multiple facilitator. I would say that humanly possible for one facilitator, it's 15 people, so that you have maybe 3 groups to handle, more or less. But more than that, online, even on site, it's already tricky. I wouldn't recommend to attack it on your own. So I would say that if you have big workshops, you have to organize then breakup rooms, you have to have multiple facilitators and have their spaces so people are comfortable, because talking with 60, like I'm saying 60 like that, but with lots of people is just not efficient at all. So you need to, let's say, adapt to that accordingly.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I think these are most of the questions. If anyone has more questions, just ask them. There is a lot of positive feedback, people saying thank you.
Thank you as well.
We have an example of plan B.
Yeah. Well, the plan Bs are sometimes I take away exercises. So oftentimes there are some moments, for example, I planned 30 minutes for a certain exercise, and I see that the people have lots of things, valuable things to say, and I take the liberty to extend this exercise. I try to build on the momentum and use the energy where people are generous with giving. So the plan B would be not to stick, let's say, to the schedule that I have. And I just say like, all right, there's an exercise, I don't know, further down in the workshop, we're going to just take it out and we're going to take this time for this. And I don't know, communicate that with my peers that, or my assistant and the client to tell them I'm just modifying it right now. So that would be a plan B. And plan B would be, for example, when the voting system is not working, you put in place the dot voting quickly and you have it in the back as a backup somewhere a bit higher up in the space. So that could be like little plan Bs that you can apply to the pre-mortem, let's say, situations that you have.
And still another one, is time for an exercise longer online than in person?
No, I wouldn't say that it's longer. It really, I would say that it's almost the same. It's just that the rhythm is different. And sometimes it's a bummer because on the on-site, I provide some food so people are not hungry, and I cannot do that on site, I mean online. But it's not, no, I wouldn't say that it's longer or shorter, but we can be pretty efficient online. And that's pretty cool. I don't know why, but I have the impression that the amount of, let's say, post-its, if I am to mention a matrix, is much bigger than on site. I don't know why, but online people, they just, they I don't know, somehow they're comfortable with it.
It looks like there are no more questions coming. Last chance.
Anything else? But anyway, you can always beat me in some other channels. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram as well. And yeah, just poke me, whatever. Always.
So again, thank you so much. It was great to listen to you.